Julius Caesar, a name that echoes through history as one of the most powerful men to ever walk the earth. But what if I told you the story of his rise to power isn't what you've been taught? The real truth behind his ascent is filled with shocking twists, betrayal, and cunning strategies that changed the Roman world forever. You might think you know his story, but stick around, because the details you're about to uncover will challenge everything you thought you knew about Caesar. Today, we're diving deep into the real story behind Julius Caesar's rise to power. From his humble beginnings to his unprecedented control over Rome, Caesar's journey was anything but simple. This isn't just about battles and politics. It's a tale of manipulation, ambition, and a relentless pursuit of power. So, let's peel back the layers and expose the shocking details that you won't find in your average history books. First, let's start with Caesar's early life. Born into the patrician Julii family, Caesar wasn't the only one vying for power in ancient Rome. In fact, his family wasn't at the top of the Roman social ladder. They were noble but not particularly wealthy or influential. So, how did Caesar rise to such monumental power when he wasn't born into the highest echelons of Roman society? The key here was Caesar's ability to use his connections. His marriage to Cornelia, the daughter of a powerful ally, was just the beginning of a series of strategic relationships that would push him forward. But what's truly shocking is how quickly he understood the value of forming alliances, not just with the elite, but with those who had real power. At the time, Rome was a city where influence could be bought, and Caesar was a master of the political game. But his rise wasn't without challenges. At one point, Caesar's political career was in jeopardy. He was forced into hiding after his uncle's assassination. It's this early experience of adversity that would shape his mindset for the rest of his life. Caesar learned early that the game was ruthless, and if he wanted to survive, he'd have to play by his own rules. Now, here's where things really start to get interesting. Many people think of Julius Caesar as a man who simply rose to power through military conquest. But the truth is, he was a master of political manipulation. And nowhere is this more evident than in the formation of the first triumvirate. In 60 BCE, Caesar, alongside two of Rome's most powerful figures, Pompey and Crassus, formed an unofficial political alliance. Now, Pompey was a celebrated military leader, and Crassus was one of the wealthiest men in Rome. Together they held immense influence. But what made this alliance so shocking was the way Caesar positioned himself. He wasn't the most powerful of the three, but he understood how to use them to his advantage. While Pompey and Crassus were focused on their own interests, Caesar played the role of the connector, a man who could bring them together and leverage their power to further his own ambitions. And the results? Well, Caesar secured the position of consul in 59 BCE, a massive political victory that cemented his place in Rome's upper echelons. But here's the kicker. Caesar didn't stop there. He used his consulship to push through policies that would benefit not only him, but also Pompey and Crassus, cementing their loyalty. He was playing a long game, and his allies didn't even realize it yet. Caesar's rise wasn't just about winning allies. It was about knowing when to break away from them. This was never more apparent than in 49 BCE, when Caesar made the shocking decision to cross the Rubicon River. At this point, Caesar was at the peak of his power. He had been appointed governor of Gaul and had an army loyal to him. But the Senate, which had once been his ally, now feared his growing influence and demanded that he disband his army and return to Rome. This would have meant the end of his political career and perhaps his life. But Caesar had no intention of playing by the Senate's rules. In a move that shocked Rome, Caesar famously declared, "The die is cast," and crossed the Rubicon with his army, an act of insurrection that was both bold and deeply dangerous. By crossing the Rubicon, Caesar committed to civil war, knowing that there was no turning back. What's truly shocking is how Caesar didn't just rely on military power. He won over the Roman people. His ability to present himself as the defender of Rome against the corrupt Senate turned the tide in his favor. The Senate, divided and unsure, couldn't stand against him. Caesar marched into Rome and assumed control, but the real battle was just beginning. Now that Caesar had won the civil war and become the undisputed ruler of Rome, his next move was to solidify his power, and this is where things take a dark turn. Because while many people saw Caesar as a hero, his political maneuvering to become dictator for life was, in a word, shocking. Caesar used his position as dictator to make sweeping reforms in Rome. He centralized power, created massive public works, and extended citizenship to Roman provinces. These moves won him loyalty from the masses, but they also alarmed the elites. What Caesar had done was dangerous. He had turned the political system on its head. He didn't just seek power, he rewrote the rules of Roman governance to make it work in his favor. But here's the shocking part. Many of Caesar's reforms actually made sense from a pragmatic standpoint. He was a visionary, he saw the way the Roman Republic was crumbling under its own weight, and he sought to modernize it. Yet, his centralized control created enemies in the Senate, and as we all know, power breeds resentment. In 44 BCE, just months after being named dictator for life, Caesar was assassinated by a group of senators who feared he was becoming too powerful. But the shocking truth? Caesar's reforms paved the way for the Roman Empire. His death triggered a chain of events that would lead to the rise of his grandnephew Octavian, who would become Augustus, the first Roman emperor. So how did Julius Caesar rise to power? It wasn't through mere military conquest. It was his brilliant political mind, his mastery of alliances, and his ability to manipulate the political system to his advantage. He understood that the path to power wasn't just about victory on the battlefield. It was about controlling the narrative, winning over the people, and always staying one step ahead of his enemies. Caesar's rise to power is a lesson in ambition, strategy, and the dangers of centralizing authority. His story isn't just one of triumph, it's a reminder of how easily a republic can fall when those in power stop following the rules. So what do you think? Was Caesar a hero who saved Rome, or a dictator who set the stage for its downfall? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you want to explore more shocking stories from history, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives like this.